This is At Your Service, the service management podcast from CRM Audio, with your hosts, Shawn Tabor and Scott LeFante. Analogic is a leading Microsoft Gold Dynamics CRM ISV, delivering best-in-class Dynamics 365 for customer engagement solutions, as well as cost-effective and high-quality offshore Dynamics CRM programming services. Analogic's innovative solution portfolio includes Maplytics, a premier map visualization, routing, and geoanalytics app for customer engagement for Dynamics 365, InnoLink, that offers seamless integration between QuickBooks and Dynamics 365 customer engagement, and other productivity apps like User Adoption Monitor, Click to Clone, and Click to Export. We appreciate Analogic for supporting today's episode of At Your Service. Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to At Your Service, the service management podcast on the CRM Audio Network. As always, I am Shawn Tabor, and my co-host, Mr. Scott LeFante. Hey, Scott.
Hey, Shawn. How's it going?
Well, you know, it's we're recording due to an unforeseen issue. We have our first lost episode.
Nice. So it could be one of those ones that we dig up 2 years later, and publish it.
Who knows? But yes, we have our first lost episode. Chris Huntingford, I'm sorry. The episode we had about Project Service, recorded in Extreme 365, is gone for the ages. So I think we're going to have to talk about PSA in the new year to make up for that. But there's still lots to talk about today. There's
always a lot to talk about when we talk about service.
Exactly. And, one thing I always think about with service is, characteristics. And given the last couple of days, I would give you a skill and characteristic for clumsiness at a proficient level.
That would be correct. That I would be honored to have that proficiency level.
Yeah, we tried recording on. We tried on Thursday. No, Friday. It was Friday, right?
It was Friday.
We tried on Friday, and you hurt your arm.
Yes, had to get stitches.
Yes, 15 stitches, right?
Absolutely.
And so it's not trivial. This is a decent amount of stitches. Then we said, okay, we're going to record Saturday. Now, Saturday was my fault. Saturday I got sent on errands, had to go get a Christmas tree, So I was otherwise dispatched, if you will.
Yeah. If we had Glimpse, I could have tracked you.
You very well could have. You could have very well could have, and I could have sent you a text message via Twilio or Flow. So anyway, and then Sunday we were going to record, and what happened Sunday?
Let's see. Sunday was the slip and fall incident on a wet tile floor.
Yeah.
So my knee now looks like a cassava melon.
Yes. Nice. So, okay. So that brought us to the point where we said, okay, we're not going to be able to record. We're going to have to fall back to the PSA episode from Extreme that we were holding. And then 5 minutes ago, what happened? I realized it's gone. I don't know where it is. So, but it's poignant, because we're a timely, if not anything, we're a timely podcast. So there's a number of things we need to talk about. First of which, today is the 11th of December, and today was the first day you could take the field service certification exam. MB2877.
That is correct.
So I did that.
How'd it go?
I did that. And well, what happened? I put out on Twitter announced to God and everybody that I was taking the exam. And I was like, I'm excited because I really genuinely was. I was very excited to take the field service exam. And then I realized I just told everybody I'm taking the field service exam. So if I don't do well, not only is it going to be all over Twitter and Facebook, but at some point I'm going to have to talk about it on the podcast. Luckily, passed. And it was a challenging exam. It was, I would say there's less fluff than other exams that I've seen. And by fluff, I mean there's less, super easy stuff, because with field service, it's so layered, right? Yeah. When you start talking about agreements and incident types and work order types and scheduling and connected field service, I mean, there's a lot of content, right?
There's a ton, and there's only so many questions, right? So
right.
Where do you spend your time studying for an exam like that?
Right.
It would be daunting because you don't know what you don't know, right? And I know that seems kind of weird to say, but you really don't.
No, and here's some observations that I made. It really does help if you've implemented field service before, because just trying to consume the concepts, for me, I think would have been much more difficult had I not have implemented field service before. And mainly around the agreements. There's a lot of meat on that bone, right? And getting into the differences within incident types and what happens with when you're setting it up and configuring and when you're dealing with the Woodford solution and all of that kind of stuff. Had I not had hands-on, it would have been much more difficult for me to consume, I think, at least the way I learn. So the approach I took was a combination of things. I did install field service in an environment. I did import the demo data. I had a relatively working solution, right? I went into the Woodford solution just to get familiarities and understand concepts. I didn't try building any forms or doing anything like that for my prep anyway. I've done that before, but just not for this prep. And then I reviewed all of the official curriculum and watched a few hours actually, of Derek Borman. Hey, Derek, pontificating the wonders of field service for Dynamics 365. So there's definitely some great resources available for it. But it was. It's weird. I would say I'm proudest of this certification out of all of them that I've gotten. So,
awesome. That's fantastic news. So what I get out of that is, make sure if you're going to take this exam and you really haven't implemented, or even if you have, get a trial instance and make sure your functionality in and out, especially around some of those, maybe some of those areas that you typically don't even think about. Really, you just kind of set up like agreements and you don't really think about it per se.
Right.
That's definitely
because it's set up an agreement, look at some incident types, look at some service tasks, go through. What I would do is go through each form, look at the lookups that are on the form, look at the required fields, look what's, the predictors, look at what's changed after installing field service on your main entities. There's a lot of content there, and it was stressful, and I was stressing hitting that complete button, but
and waiting for the big pass or fail to show up.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm always that way. even when I know everything's spot on, I'm still thinking something's going to happen. So that's just the way I roll. But yeah, it's I'm glad I got it, and I feel good for taking it. So
excellent.
So I encourage everybody, if you're interested in field service, I don't know if I would say. I don't know if I would say. Phone's ringing. I don't know if I would say don't take the service, the standard service one where it has field service, project service, customer service all in one. But if that's more your thinking, I encourage you to take any certification to gain more knowledge on the platform. But I'm really keen to, hopefully they're going to have a separated exam for each of the three big service components, and I'll be looking forward to take those.
Yeah, that's the big thing now, right? I mean, if you look at the customer service exam that's out there today, it still encompasses the field service area. So my assumption would be at some point in the extreme near future, we're going to see that exam change. And then I would like to really see a project service exam, because there is, just like field service, quite a bit of content in those areas of PSA. So that would be a really nice test, especially as project services, at least here at Hitachi, is gaining an extreme amount of momentum.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's across the board, really. It's one of the leading solutions for the platform in general, and I'm excited about where it's going. So we'll see where the future holds.
Absolutely. Yeah, it should be exciting times for 2018 and beyond. I mean, we saw field service really kind of the last couple of years just booming, really. And now project service, the same thing. So I expect that same trend. Yep. And expect project service as this continues to evolve and mature, become an extremely robust solution.
Absolutely. And today also, well, not today, but within the last couple of days, there's been some other events going on in the realm of the services components with the Dynamics 365 monthly update on the Dynamics CRM in the field blog with the product team. There's a number of big news. Yeah, there's a number of enhancements for quite a few of the objects in and around the service areas, like Unified Service Desk, Portal, Field Service, and Project Service have all gotten some updates in the recent weeks.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I saw some of those functions, and then even some updates on the social engagement. Not that we've talked a lot about social engagement, but we definitely see some good content out there and some nice features coming out and some fixes that I don't even think when I started reading them for field service. Oh yeah, that happens to me. So hopefully everyone will be excited if they go ahead and read the post. We'll get a sense for what's included, particularly depending on what area. But let's say you're working on field service or project service, there's quite at least from a project service perspective, I think there's 9 or 10 items, and field service has a couple that, and they all tie into, or seem to, in some extent, some of them tie into the portal function specifically for field service. So that'll be big for the customers that are also using it from a portal perspective.
Well, why don't we drill in a little bit and talk about the since we talked about the field service exam a few minutes ago. Why don't we drill in a little bit and talk about some of the enhancements that were included in the automation update for field service and project service. So
I think that's a fantastic idea.
Typically, I come up with some good ones. So with the field service. There was, a simple enhancement where it resolved an error message, a couple error messages, and it resolved issue of work order forms not displaying in the portal for field service. That's kind of a big deal when you have, partners coming into your portal to see their work. If they're not rendering, that could be an issue.
Yeah, I would imagine it would be pretty hard to dispatch a service provider to be able to dispatch a technician for a phantom work order they can't see.
Yeah.
That could be tough.
And that would be bad. Now that I'm thinking about it, from a current project perspective, oh Lord, that would be terrible. There's also in field service an enhancement for when a user creates a new booking rule with a custom web resource in JavaScript function, the user sees an invalid message instead of what's expected.
Yeah, and that was a big one, especially with using the schedule assistant feature on the work order. A lot of us use these booking rules primarily to really drill home some customer requirements in terms of booking or showing. Let's say, for example, Shawn, you're a technician and you're not very clumsy, so you have we'll go with the clumsy. You're a newbie. And if you're going to go ahead and assign something to you and you don't meet that criteria, out of the box, it'll let you assign it. But if you create a booking rule, potentially you can have something kind of appear that says, oh, okay, well, maybe Shawn's not the best person for this. Hey, how about Scott?
Yeah, and in that, obviously you don't want that. You want that to be working correctly. Have you messed with some of the custom web resources for booking rules, so where you could get using XML to really drive a lot of custom functionality within a booking rule?
I personally, since I'm not a developer,
nor am I, my friend. Nor am I.
I personally have not played around with it, with my own hands, but I've designed several and tested the functionality with some of our really smart developers building some really fantastic functionality with the booking rules, and it really is. It's a very flexible. I love that feature. It's very flexible and it's quite powerful if you know how to use it.
Right. And I just like the capability to extend it using that web resource functionality. So it's definitely much more capabilities than we've had in the past with web resources. So that's exciting to see. Now keep in mind, this is for this update, for the Dynamics 365 for Field Service and Project Service Automation Update 4 that we're talking about, that was released on Halloween, really. But this this was updated on the team blog just a couple of days ago. Keep in mind that this upgrade can only be installed or upgraded for 8.2 or higher with Project Service 1.2.1.56 or earlier, and Field Service 6.2.1.38 or earlier. So if that doesn't work for you, if those aren't in your solution library, or if you are on V9, what we're talking about right now, these enhancements are not, they're not for you. So in terms of project service automation, what did you see that was really jumping out at you?
I thought some of the big ones that I saw was one, they had a performance improvement on the T&E areas. So that was always, especially when I demoed it or built it, was always one of those areas that I would have open because I would cringe at some of the response time. So I am excited to see that one. The other big areas that I saw was the work breakdown structure. If you're using Firefox or Windows 10 touchscreen, wouldn't open correctly. And I did have that experience on my Windows 10 touchscreen where occasionally the WBS would not open. So that is fixed. So I should be able to open those and take a look at them and play around with them and do whatever I need to do. Whereas in the past is I was getting around it by either opening it in project and linking it, or linking it, and as part of my webinar, linking it also to the project web app.
Oh, that's right.
And then having to go
you know what?
ways.
We haven't mentioned that since we last recorded. You had a webinar on project service automation that we were supposed to both be on it, but I couldn't attend for a couple of reasons. But that was a couple of weeks ago, right?
That was a couple of weeks ago. I think it was right before the holiday. I think it was the week before, and it went extremely well. I had quite a few people on, and what we'll probably wind up doing for our audience here, I would imagine, is kind of taking a little bit of a deeper dive in some of those areas that we talked about on that webinar. I think that might benefit our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. We use that to. I think we'll use some of that to help build our what to expect when setting up project service automation, and that might be a couple episodes.
Absolutely, I think that would be helpful. I think some of the other big ones here on the project service area were around the project price list on the project contract was getting copied over from the project, even though the contract was created from the quote, and that's where it was kind of acting a little bit funny with the price list. So it looks like that is also fixed, because the product and the project price list should come from the customer record, right? I mean, in theory. So, I mean, if you look at it from the field service, you usually get that to kind of flow over if it's there. So it looks like there's some fixes there. There's quite a few in the project service automation area. So I would definitely take a look at those. And if you've implemented or have tested, or customers that were logging some concern or discord about some of these areas, you might want to take a look at them and see if any of them are applicable to your implementation.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one that kind of made me chuckle a little bit is there's an enhancement for a universal resource scheduling, where if the requirement is for 30 years with duration as 1 hour, user faces error when they try to book this requirement from the booking dialog. So that's a pretty solid agreement that you got set up there. where you're going out for at least an hour once every 30 years. So
I would really like to know what the use case is for that. And if we have any customers or listeners out there that actually have seen something to that duration, because man, that what kind of revenue are you generating from that booking?
Exactly.
And have you accounted for inflation every year?
Right. And just managing tax codes on the labor every year. That would be interesting. But yeah, so there's a lot of updates if you haven't taken time to look. I always take a look at the Dynamics CRM in the Field blog. The product team puts out some really good information, especially about updates and enhancements. So there's Service Update 5 for Dynamics 365 9.0 and Service Update 3 for 8.2.2, as well as there's some updates for Unified Service Desk and the project service and field service automation updates that we just talked about. So lots of stuff going on. So that those happened a little while ago, but still very relevant as they're still updating the blog posts on the product team blog.
Absolutely. So definitely, if you aren't aware of how to find that blog, you could always get the Hobbit or myself on Twitter and or on LinkedIn or any other social media. That's right. And we'd be happy to share with you some of our helpful bookmarks and favorite sites that we go to for areas, because contrary to popular belief, as much as we know a lot of things, we don't know everything.
No, we don't. And no one with the platform the way it is now, no one's going to know everything about everything. So our specialty is definitely with the service components. But even I don't, or you don't know everything about customer service, field service, and project service. That more narrow focus of just the service components still at times can be daunting because there's so much capabilities within each of the three pillars. So, and we have another nice little update this week on the podcast. It's the return of the Dynamics 365 Diva, Miss Sarah Jelinek. We recorded some DivaTime.
Excellent. I definitely need some DivaTime spread out, especially as we get into the season of giving.
Exactly.
So the CRM Diva will give her advice and wisdom to our listeners.
Exactly. And the idea behind DivaTime, because now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I did a really good job explaining what the whole purpose of the segment is. But it's what's going to happen is once an episode, we're going to have Sarah in, and she's going to go over a piece of functionality within the customer service space that's top of mind to her. Whether it's on an active project, she's working on something, seen something in the community, seen something on a blog, what have you, whatever the reason and the input is, it's something that's top of mind to her. We're going to talk for about 5-10 minutes about the feature and functionality. She's going to give some good tips on how to leverage the capabilities and what to look out for when implementing. And I think it's going to be a great segment moving forward.
Absolutely. That'd be great to get her perspective. She's well respected in the Dynamics community. Absolutely. And has a plethora of knowledge in the service area. So definitely look forward to having her on more and more future episodes. And as always, if our listeners have any suggestions for topics they might want to hear in the service arena, let us know, and we can definitely evaluate that and see when we can make that happen.
Yeah, and you might be asking yourself now, that's fantastic idea, Scott. How do I do that? Well, let me tell you. You can send an email to voice@crm.audio. That's the email box for the overall network. Or you can tweet to myself at CRM Hobbit or Scott at FLD _
service.
Is it the full word?
Guru.
Is it the full word service?
Yep. It is the full word.
Okay.
Service.
So at FLD _ service guru.
That's right.
Okay. Could you have made it longer? I'm just curious.
I tried to make it shorter and everything was taken.
Okay. Well, fair enough.
And I'm not very creative. Well, that's why I used to be in marketing.
Yeah, okay.
And I got out of marketing.
All right, good point. But yeah, let us know what topics you'd like to hear us talk about. We got some cool stuff coming up for you later this month. We have an interview that I'm very excited about for our next episode. I guess it's our Christmas episode coming out on the 22nd. And then in the new year, we're going to kick it off right with our series of what to know when implementing ... And that'll cover the three pillars: what to know when implementing field service, what to know when implementing project service, and what to know when implementing customer service. And we might bring in the Diva for the customer service piece. So that one we're going to talk about all those insane settings, things that you need to know in as far as security, gotchas that we've experienced over numerous implementations. It's going to be a good series, and if everything goes well, and everything goes as planned, hopefully you'll see some blog posts that are associated to those episodes as well, to give you a little more meat on the bone, as it were, and spread that knowledge. So I'm excited about that.
Sorry, it is our gift to all of you.
There you go, for the new year.
I'm in a given mood.
Apparently,
it's the holidays.
It's either that or the pain medicine that you're on. So, but I'll take it either way.
There we go.
All right. Well, you know what? I think it's Diva time. if I'm looking at my clock.
I think it is.
So why don't we send it on over to the Diva?
Sounds good to me.
There's just sweetness all around inside.
The Dynamics 365 Diva herself.
And, we just took a deeper dive.
Today's a special episode.
That's a great question.
I am wonderful. All right. Well, we're back with a new segment to the At Your Service podcast. Very excited about it. Been planning it for a month now. And you might be asking yourself at this point in the podcast what time it is. It's DivaTime. And with that, we have Sarah Jelinek with us, the Dynamics 365 Diva. Hi, Sarah.
Hey, Shawn. How you doing?
I am well. So our new segment, you're going to come in once a week or once an episode and give us some customer service tips.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely.
All right. Excellent. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, today we're going to talk about knowledge articles and, just basically knowledge management in Dynamics 365 or Dynamics CRM, what version you happen to be on. Ever since I was first introduced to Dynamics CRM, and that happened to be good old version 3.0, in customer service, one of my favorite topics to talk about was knowledge management and knowledge articles. Back then, we had simple, basic articles that were just text-based. You could maybe put a hyperlink in there, but really just kind of a question-answer type of format, or just a here's what you need to do kind of step-by-step guide. And they're really helpful for customer service because we know that's an area where we tend to see, some turnover on for customer service, getting your more senior technicians, getting some of your junior representatives, especially up to speed on it. And with Dynamics CRM at the time, it was great because you could have a knowledge article, you could connect it to a case, and it was just some really good information there. But sometimes we saw where we need to have more than one associated with a case, because not just one article can answer it all. It wasn't like the one ring to rule it all. So there's no one article to rule it all either.
Right. Right.
So with Dynamics CRM 2015, 2016, we started to see the concept of a knowledge article and being able to record that information. So one of the areas I like to work with people on is figuring out how to best utilize this in your organization. And one of those areas just happens to be how do we capture that information? How do we gather that information? And just want to talk about some ideas that I've seen implemented at some organizations, that I've heard other people talk about, of how to collect that information, how to best utilize that for customer service.
Okay, great.
One of the best ways I think that you can utilize to try capture that knowledge is to try and make it as easy as possible for people to share that. At CRMUG Focus, at CRMUG Summit, and in some of our local chapter meetings, I've talked about ways to kind of capture what we call tribal knowledge, that institutional knowledge that few people know at an organization, that comes out once in a blue moon, but it can save the day when it comes to providing customer service. So how do we capture that? How do we make that easy for our representatives, for our employees, for anyone in our organization to gather that? And I think that just comes into a play of a lot of people maybe just marking a checkbox on a case to say, hey, look at my notes on this one. I've got some great information here. Or maybe just sending an email to a mailbox that goes and automatically creates a case, or goes and creates some type of record that we need to follow up on. But just looking at ways that we can capture that information and bring it into CRM, that someone actually has a physical record of it now that has to have some action done upon that. And just trying to find an easy, seamless way for them to do that, to gather that information. So that's one way that we can try to bring that information into the system.
And how do you monitor and manage when that information is brought into the system? How are you monitoring and managing who are those contributors and how successful that contribution is?
That's a great question. So how are we monitoring when that information comes in? Who's looking at that? And I think that comes into how is it coming in? So if we use an example of maybe having people just send in an email to our support team and saying, hey, I've got a great idea for a knowledge article. Maybe we designate something in the subject of that email. And when we get into another topic we can talk about in another session about automatic case creation, we can build up rules that say if this is something about knowledge article or has something in the subject, let's route this to an appropriate team. And then you kind of have to identify those individuals at your company that will know what to do with that information. A lot of people are not writers. They are not technical writers. They know a lot of information, but they can't compose that information very well. That's where you find a group of people that are really good at maybe interviewing your team members or looking at that information and extracting the details that they need to build a knowledge article for people. So it might be a group of people, a team that maybe takes turns on doing it, but can really just take the time to write that documentation. I've got wonderful people at my company that will, they can sit there and they can write documentation all day. And that's a perfect job I would give them to handle that. And those individuals can then go to your subject matter experts and get more information and find out, is this right? Is this the right steps you want them to complete? Is this the right process that they should be performing? Is this the right information they should be collecting? And it really is just a team effort to try to gather that information.
So it becomes part of the authoring process. It kind of formalizes the user feedback loop and kind of closes it.
Absolutely. So if it comes in as a case, then I say, all right, I've got this information, and now I can actually go through and complete the different tasks and the different steps there. And once I've gathered all the information, decided, yes, this will make a great article for us to share maybe internally or with our customers, then they can close the loop, resolve it, and have gone and created that record. So everything really should just have a closing phase of acknowledging that we've received it. We've either taken action on it or we've decided, nope, we're done. And then we have that closed loop. It's not an email sitting in someone's mailbox that maybe gets ignored. It's an action that needs to be taken within the system.
Cool. I like it.
Yeah. And one of the ways that we can help facilitate some of that entries we talked about is maybe making a process where we have it come in as a case. We have it come in as maybe just flag a case in that example. But when we start to bring it in as a knowledge article, there are things that we can do just on the knowledge article itself that helps it make it a lot easier for people to find information. And one of the things that we look at it that some people maybe not tend to think about is that you can actually customize that knowledge article form to conform to maybe what your organization needs. Maybe you don't want to use that subject tree to help categorize information when people are trying to search and find information. Maybe you want to use categories instead. So make that form your own and figure out what information you want to collect, not just to help people find information more efficiently, but also from a reporting aspect as well. Maybe you want to categorize something to see, all right, this article is really popular. What does it relate to? What type of topic does it relate to? So that's something very helpful as well when people start looking at knowledge management within Dynamics 365.
How much easier is it to incorporate images and or potentially links to learning assets now than it was, say, 2013, 2015?
It is much easier. We have basically, you hear the term WYSIWYG. We've got a wonderful WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get. So people have the capability to put in, different fonts and different bulleted lists and tables, and we can include images in there. So if we want to have screenshots of a process that someone needs to complete, maybe in software, or pictures of a diagram of maybe working on a physical product, we have that nice capability now with Dynamics 2015, 2016. Now, of course, Dynamics 365. You can create very rich looking articles that can better serve your customer service representatives, your customers, if they're looking at it from an external point of view. It really has improved to help provide better customer service.
Excellent. Yeah, I had a project 4 or 5 years ago where we had to try to figure out how to incorporate images from customer's website to the knowledge base articles, and it was hackathon 3000
yes.
to get that to work. So that's good to see that's changed.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a web developer to do it, which is even better. You just have to know where that picture's stored and just link it in there, and you can create very sharp looking articles that you're happy to email out to a customer.
Excellent. Any other topics on or ideas on knowledge base articles?
Well, I think when you try to look at the value of utilizing these articles, one of the things that I know management might come back at you and say, well, how helpful is this to us that we spend time and resources in maintaining this information? Well, Dynamics 365 has the capability for you to do some very easy reporting on that. How many times is an article being viewed by our team? How many times are our team members linking articles to a case? We've got capabilities for you to quickly generate a report within about a minute, utilizing out-of-the-box reporting to get those numbers, to find out what are our popular articles that were being utilized. Which ones are not getting utilized? Are we not putting the right information there? We make it difficult for people to find it. You have some really good reporting capabilities with this new embedded knowledge management. And it doesn't have to be just for your cases either. You can use this on really any record, like an account, a contact, an opportunity. It doesn't have to be just for customer service. It could be for anything that you want to provide guidance for people to search for help and search for information within the system. I think it's a really powerful tool. And if you haven't started to look at it, definitely make time on your calendar to do so.
Now, out of the box, you can classify views, I believe, for knowledge articles from either an internal or a portal, if you have a portal configured in your environment. Is there any method to understand whether or not a customer has viewed it, say, when you email it to them?
I think that would probably go more into if you have sent an email, that would probably get more into and you can correct me on this one if I got this one wrong, Shawn, is that you start getting into your relationship insights of looking at, okay, I've sent an email, I want to be able to see, have they looked at that? Am I getting that right? Relationship insights or customer insights?
Yeah, through the email engagement. Exactly. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I would think in reporting, though, is that would kind of disconnect from the standard reporting. You might have to do some additional reporting to grab those views, if I would imagine correctly. Correct?
Yeah, and I would think if you're providing it from an external standpoint, like they're looking at it through a portal, if we're pulling that record and viewing that information, through an external source, we're still having to gather that from CRM. So I would think that our knowledge article views report would still be helpful in that one.
As always, excellent information from the Dynamics 365 Diva on knowledge-based articles or knowledge management itself. I look forward to our next opportunity to talk, and I have a feeling maybe we're going to talk maybe case creation, maybe.
Yeah, that sounds like a great topic for us to discuss.
Well, let's see. So, as always, like we say on the podcast, we're at your service, but it's Diva time. So we'll see you next. Same Diva time, same Diva channel. There you go. It's like Batman.
Love it.
Well, once again, another font of knowledge from the Dynamics 365 Diva, all about knowledge-based articles. There's a lot of good content there.
Oh, absolutely. She definitely knows her stuff around knowledge articles, and I think I learned a couple things from her as well. So definitely glad to have her sharing her wisdom.
Of course you are. So you know what? I think that's a jam-packed episode, and I think we're going to wrap it up. So as always, I'm Shawn Tabor, and with my co-host Scott LeFante, of course, we are at your service. At Your Service is a production of Dynamic Podcasts, LLC. Follow Shawn on Twitter at CRM Hobbit. Subscribe to the CRM Audio Network of podcasts on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, SoundCloud, Stitcher, TuneIn, or any place else that fine podcasts are available. You can email us at voice@crm.audio.